Let's do something very cool today. A tank that is very easy to set up, requires almost no maintenance, and doesn't even need any filtration. And despite all of that, it has zero algae in it. Why I think it will work? Because I did that in the past and it worked really well. So this time I'm moving it to the next level and create version 2.0 focused on red plants. And to make it even more interesting, we will try to grow very red plants without CO2. So, is that even possible? Can it be done? Spoiler alert, yes it can, so keep watching. First, a bit of theory. You see, every time you create a planted tank, you are starting a war for resources. And in this war, resources are nutrients, good guys are plants, and algae are the villains. And at the beginning of your tank life cycle, algae have a big advantage over the plants, because they are much simpler and grow faster. This is why people very often have problems with algae at the start of new setups. So, if you want to have nice and clean tank, you should make everything you can to help your plants to win this war. So, we will give them an advantage. We will try to outnumber them. So, let's get to work. This is the tank I will be using for this build. It's 30 by 20 by 20 centimeters and holds 12 liters of water. So it's nothing big, but this is the point. I think it will make a great tank for shrimp, for example. On top of it, I'm placing this simple LED light. And those are the plants that I will be using. All of them are in vitro plants. I bought them online in very small portions because I wanted a lot of variety. It will help us to determine what works and what doesn't. There are 10 different types of plants in total. What is important here is to select few plants that are very fast growing. In my case, I went for Hygrophila Polysperma Sunset and Rotala Rotundifolia Red. Those two plants will be responsible for fighting algae at the very beginning. Before I move on, it's good to plan what plant would go where. It's important because I need to plant taller, fast-growing plants in the back, medium-sized in the middle, and slower and smaller plants in the front. And here's the layout I'm going for. Of course, the plant selection is totally up to you, but as promised, I selected a lot of plants that are supposed to be red or reddish. Right now, almost all of them are green, but this is what makes it fun. We will see how they change over time. At least I hope so. Next, I had to prepare the substrate. I'm using active soil that is rich in nutrients and perfect for this kind of setup. I use quite a lot, even though this tank is quite small. It is a bit risky because it means that there will be a lot of nutrients there. But we have to do it like that to have a chance of good colors from those plants. To help with planting process, it's good to include some water. This way it will be easier to push the plants to the substrate and limit the possibility that they will float after we will fill the tank with water. And now it's time to put the plants inside. One by one, I'm planting them in the places that I have planned before. And after all plants are in place, I'm done. You see how easy it was? In general, this tank was created in a very specific way. The entire bottom of this tank was planted. Just look from above. Normally, there will be some other decorations, rocks, wood pieces, caves, anything. But I did it like this because of what I said at the beginning. We need to help the plants to fight off the algae from the day one. When plant mass is big from the very beginning, they are all using all nutrients available in the tank, and there is nothing left for the algae, outnumbering them, remember? But okay, now all there is to do is fill it with water. As you can see, at the very beginning those plants look really bad. But that's okay, it will change very quickly. And regarding our red colors, well, apart from some signs here at the front, they are all basically just green. So let's keep our fingers crossed. And one more thing, because I have very small plants and light substrate, there is a risk that some of them might float to the surface. To avoid this, I have to fill this tank really slowly. There is really no rush. But if it does happen, don't try to put them back again. You will cause a cascading effect and more of them will float. Just trust me and remove them. Okay, so let's move on. Here we are only 2 days later. You can probably see that there are changes already. Some of the plants lifted and are pointing to the direction of the light. This is very good sign. And now we are at the crucial part for this tank to be successful and algae free. First of all, the light can be strong, but should be on for only 6 hours a day. This is working for me the best. And second, every day you should do a big water change. This is because this substrate is very rich in nutrients, and all of the plants are getting them through the root system. But at the start of new tank, some of those nutrients are leaking into the water column, which is perfect for algae to develop. This is why every day for 7 to 10 days, I'm changing at least 50% of water. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it will pay off later. And speaking of paying off later, here we are after additional 16 days. Big difference, isn't it? Not only we see a lot of growth, but also some coloring starts to appear. This Ammania Gracilis, for example. Look how different are the new leaves. Entire tank looks much better, and I can even see some coloring here on this Bacopa. It should be purple in the long run. It's not there yet, but something is happening. But I need to be patient. I need to trim the plants when necessary, keep up with weekly water changes, and stick to my plan. Because now I will do something that I haven't done with the previous project. I will show you how it works in the long run. Very long. Yes, we really are 6 months later. I created this tank in the summer of 2024, and we are in January of 25. And just look at this. Look how red some of those plants are now. All of them are growing just fantastic and are really healthy and super colorful. Just look at them. This tank is still very clean. There are still no sign of algae issues. I did have some diatoms in here, but other than that, it's super easy. But let's talk about changes. You might notice that there is one change right here with plants. This Myriophyllum red just melted away and I have replaced it. I didn't want anything rotting in this tank because this could lead to algae. And second change is the light. After this tank was established and algae was no longer a real threat, I switched it to something much more powerful. I did that to make those colors really pop, and it worked great. Remember that there is still no filtration and no CO2. One more thing I did is to include some root tabs into the substrate. After 4 months from the start, I had to be sure that the nutrients are still on the high level, because we have strong lights and plants are coloring up and they need a lot of food. But other than that, that's it. No liquid ferts of any kind. The only maintenance that is necessary right now is small water change every 10 to 12 days and occasional trimming. That's it. So, I trim the plants, they keep growing back, and the entire cycle continues. The tank is super clean, there are only 2 corona snails to keep it tidy, and plants are taking care of the rest. And you have to admit that it's really nice. Some plants are longer or shorter depending on the timing when I was recording, because like I said, I'm trimming them from time to time. But other than that, what a result. So now let's summarize in details progress with our red plants. I mean, this was the point of this tank. Starting from the setup. There is no filter, no heater, and no CO2. There is obviously a light, and I started with simple cheap 6 watts LED light, and then changed it to powerful Chihiro's A301 after 4 months. Right now it's on for 8 hours a day. Substrate, it was Controsoil with no additions. Only after 4 months I added some root tabs to keep the nutrients high. It was at the same moment when I switched the light. And now, summary of the plants. Rotala, super fast growth, great colors, really red, and zero issues with it, fantastic result. Ammania Gold, very slow growth, barely noticeable. Regarding coloring, well, it's gold, like the name says, but in general the result, I would say it's poor, but mostly because of my mistake. I just put it in the very wrong place. Ammania Gracilis, very fast growth, fantastic colors and looks, great result. Hygrophila Polysperma Sunset, crazy fast growth. This is one of the plants that saved this tank from algae, but stayed totally green. I think it's the greenest plant in this tank. It wasn't supposed to be red, but a little bit pink. Still, it didn't happen, but I count it as a good result anyway. Bacopa Purple, a very big surprise. Nice growth speed, faster than I expected, and really purple, even without CO2. Great result. Rotala Macandra, total fail. I just forgot it was there. Sorry. Like I said, this was done 6 months ago. It had to melt right at the beginning, and maybe I didn't notice. I just noticed that I was planting it when I was preparing that video 6 months later. So yeah, bad result. Ludwigia Mini Super Red. Good growth, good color, good result. I think it helped with algae as well because there is a lot of it. Alternanthera Red. Slow growth, but expected, good color. CO2 would help it a lot, but still good result. Myriophyllum Red. It never took off. I replaced it later to avoid rotting. Bad result. Alternanthera Bronze. Good growth, good color. Turned out more red than I expected, not bronze. Good result. Okay, so that is it. I know it's a lot of information, but I wanted to be precise with this experiment. But I think that I've proved that it's definitely possible to grow red plants on easy mode. It also works in the long run. Right now, after month number 6, I will put even more root tabs to keep the nutrients high, because they are really growing faster and they are under strong light, so I need to balance it somehow. But other than that, I'm not planning any changes. So there you have it. Very nice looking, very colorful, algae-free tank. And if you put some shrimp inside, it's going to be bulletproof. So let me know in the comments what you think of it, if you liked it. Also, if you have some experiments you want me to run, don't hesitate to suggest them. I'm always looking for interesting ideas. Besides, I learned a lot with that experiment, and it's going to be super helpful knowledge for my next projects. And I hope that you learned something too. But anyway, leave a like if you liked it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.